Welcome to the news desk. I'm Mike Spence here at TSPN TV, and I have a special guest with me today, Troy Bowers, the CEO of the State Fair, or the Amador County Fair.
Amador
Can't
County
get those
Fair.
two confused. I don't even know what the State Fair is or where it would be, but I have gone to the Amador County Fair for about 10 years in a row. It's my only fair that I'm aware of, and I want to thank you, Troy, for coming on and
Well, thank you, Mike.
telling
Appreciate
us
it.
more about, obviously the fair is coming up here at the end of July, and it's our 75th anniversary of the fair that, as we know it, as it's taken place in Amador, out there in Plymouth.
Right.
Originally, it actually started in the 1800s. Why don't you tell us some of the history of that? But it was over in Ione? Or?
Yeah. County fairs have been a part of the California culture since the very beginning, since we became a state in 1850. They originally divided up the California into agricultural societies, and then they had their first fairs that were state funded back then. And that kind of grew and developed into district agricultural associations in the late 1800s. The first fair here in this county was the Amador Sacramento Annual Fair. It didn't turn out to be quite an annual event, but it was in Ione in 1887. And then kind of went quiet for a little bit, and then in 1936, horse racing was approved by the California legislature, and they took a portion of the money wagered at all the tracks in California, and it's like 1/10% back then, and put it into a pool, and that was the money that was used along with local contributions of property, talent, cash. It was a perfect public-private partnership, and that's what they built, this network of California fairs that we have now.
And now when it moved from Ione, the initial time, then it moved over to Plymouth.
Right.
Did they call it the California Ag District 26 at that time? Was that the district? So it changed.
Well, no, we have been the 26th District Agricultural Association. I think, I'm not real sure when that actually came to be. I assume that it was around 1936 when they were able to get these funds. Back then, it took 50 people together, and they would form an agricultural district association, and the boundaries would be the county boundaries. And here, our local history, Harold Colburn was the man. He had a pharmacy in Plymouth as well as Ione, and he would call the governor up, and they would talk and arrange the financing, and they got local people to donate property. The Dietert family donated a lot of property, a lot of local support. It was a real community effort with some funding from horse racing that really created this whole system that we have right now.
How do we rank in terms of the size of our agricultural district in California? Are we one of the largest? I would imagine we're pretty big.
Well, in terms of agriculture, Amador County does have a real strong wine grape and wine industry here. That's probably our number one, followed by cattle. It's interesting, back in 1938, our first fair, the big products that were on display were wheat and dairy cattle. So what our founders wanted to do when they created these district ag associations, they had three ideas in mind. One, they wanted to create a market and to exchange ideas, products, and stimulate the economy. Two, they wanted to create a laboratory where they can explore and develop the agriculture that they really didn't understand back in 1938, what the topography, the geography, the climate, and what agricultural products would work in California and in various districts. And third, they wanted to develop and recruit people to work in agriculture. And I think it's really interesting that after all these years, we still do that. That's our mission right there, to create a marketplace. So many of our local businesses and not-for-profits use the fair as their major fundraising event of the year. we our wine tasting, our wine competition, beer is actually...
Which I've never missed in the 10 years I've been in.
Why would you? You know,
wine tasting that Friday evening is a great way to kick
there.
the fair off.
Yeah.
But it is an exchange of ideas, and you do see a lot of that going on out there. I did a little livestock activity last year for the first time. There was a little wine and cheese thing happening, and so I had kind of partaked in that, and then before I knew it, I was standing in the middle of a live auction, and they're running different types of heifers and cattle, and I wouldn't even I learned a little bit about it, but I had no idea they were bringing in pairs of these animals. They're so beautiful, so it allows them not only to share ideas, but to showcase. I mean, it is a great showcase for all the animals.
I think that part that you're talking about, it's not only showcase, it's competitive. So they are evaluating the animals on their genetics, on their ability to produce offspring. They're preparing. This is the laboratory where they are looking for the next best thing, developing best practices. And then, of course, we have the junior livestock auction, which you might have been referring to. And I think that is where we recruit the next generation. That is where a lot of young people get some financing, and they discover what they want to do for the rest of their life. There's a lot of opportunities out there at the fair. I know even Tom has talked about his first experience at the fair was videotaping the Destruction Derby.
Right, which is very popular.
And that gave him the idea that, hey, maybe we can do this for a living, and here we are, TSPN.
Yeah, he would like that sports thing right from the beginning, the action of all that. It's like a big reunion out there, but it has to be the biggest gathering in Amador County of the year in terms of the size of it. You brought this picture of the poster. It'll probably show some glare. I know Alan's probably got this on digital. Nothing's small when it comes to the fair. Troy,
we don't do it. Yeah, we're
the
big.
Biggest poster
we're big
of any of the events, and it's a beautiful, beautiful design as well. But highlighting that 75th anniversary, you obviously sit on the board as the CEO, and how has that board changed over the years?
This board, I've worked at a lot of fairs in my lifetime. I'm a second-generation fair manager. My father was a fair manager in Hanford, and I've worked at a lot of fairs. This board remains true to the concept of public service. They get the mission. These people get the mission. They're business people. They're involved in the community. They're generous to a fault. It's a volunteer, I shouldn't say it's a non-paid position. They're appointed by the governor of California. There's 9 members on the board. They serve a 4-year term. So I have to say that this board is outstanding and recognized by the rest of the fair industry, which is an extension of the agricultural family, the fair industry is. And these people are known throughout the system, throughout the state, and recognized for what they do and how well they do it. So I'm very proud of this, to be part of the Amador County Fair and serve this board of directors.
I didn't realize they were appointed by the governor.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is. I wouldn't have thought that. I interviewed our, I'm going to say, assemblyman, Frank Bigelow.
Sure.
The cowboy hat. I had Frank here. He's an incredible guy. And when he went to Sacramento as our new assemblyman, he has a huge district. Goes all the way from Mammoth up the top, all the way around Amador County. And he had an opportunity to select what committees to serve on. You don't get to pick them, but you can give the head guy a list of what you're interested in serving on in terms of committees. And he put down the fair committee. I didn't realize there was a fair committee. What a great effort. And with his rural background and history, he's been, I'm sure, advocating for Amador County funding. How does that state funding, before we go to break, how does that state funding work now, today, currently?
Yeah, we don't have any.
I know he's lobbying for you. He's in the super minority.
Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to figure this out, but with the financial crisis that California found itself in 2008, the way it worked, we had been getting some funds from the horse racing industry. That has slowly lost its vitality over the years, and in 2008, that money just kind of dried up and was redirected towards the horsemen and the racetracks. And we were cut out of there. We found ourselves terrified and in the general fund. Imagine yourself being on the Titanic and then all of a sudden finding yourself in an overcrowded lifeboat. That lifeboat sunk in 2011, and we have been self-supporting since then. It's been hard work. It's been very hard work. We've had to make a lot of sacrifices, a lot of changes, but we've done well. We've done well. We've worked hard. A lot of people have volunteered and stepped up, and our sponsors have been very generous with us. Staff has volunteered unbelievable hours for the success of this fair. This is something that is personal with people. The Amador County Fair is a very personal thing, and people are connected to it, and there's a huge desire to help and make it successful every year, and that's why we are the #1 small county fair.
Well, you've certainly
Period.
managed to maintain the quality and the activities. We're going to come back after the break, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up at the fair here this year, and some of the activities, that demolition derby again.
Yep.
But some of the small items, we're going to come back and talk further with Troy Bowers. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Great.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.